Welcome to episode number 35 of the Create Your Vibrant Life podcast. This is your host, Padma Ali. And today's topic is all about attracting more money. I probably should have titled it Abundance. Attract more abundance by doing this one thing. So whether you're struggling with making more than paycheck to paycheck, or whether you want to build on your prosperity consciousness, or whether you want to create generational wealth, these podcast episodes are going to do wonders for you, starting with this one. I'm basically starting a series with this one, and it's all about creating your vibrant wealth. And in this episode, this specific episode, I'm going to help you discover how to attract more abundance in your life by making this one simple shift. So stay tuned. Welcome to Create Your Vibrant Life podcast, where you can create the life you desire by tapping into your inner wisdom. I'm your host, Padma Ali. I'm widely known in the field of psychology as helping create long-lasting transformation. And now I'm here to help you create the life you desire using the combination of neuropsychology and ancient healing practices. This podcast is for you overachievers who are ready to unlock your highest potential so you can live the life of your dreams without the hustle. I'm here to guide you through a process of self-discovery to be the creator of your destiny. You can have that fulfilling career, that relationship, the abundance, all by taking aligned actions, simply by tapping into the power of your brain, your inner wisdom, and ancient practices. So tune in, folks. I am so delighted you're here. Hello, visionaries. How are you? So today's episode is all about how you can make a simple shift to attract more abundance in your life. So in my opinion, I don't think people listening to my podcast necessarily struggle with money. And what I am setting the intention to provide for you all in the next few episodes is to be listening from various guests who will speak about wealth and wealth consciousness from different perspectives. These speakers are going to help you discover how to make money work for you, how to create generational wealth, why it's important to talk about money, like how we talk about eating food, like just making it more normal. And it's going to be a mix of spirituality, knowledge, esoteric knowledge, practical solutions and strategies, not only from myself, but from amazing guests that I have lined up here. So in my opinion, again, Create Your Vibrant Life encompasses all aspects of living. And my goal is to help you create a vibrant life in all aspects, including wealth, and debunk any myths or beliefs that you may be carrying about money, and inviting you to think outside the box and normalizing money conversations. See, many of us, including me, grew up with interesting beliefs about money. When I look back, including movies and things that I would watch, rich people were often portrayed to be bad and negative and greedy, and they used to fleece poor people of their wealth and of their living. And it just was a very negative portrayal of wealth and money. And if someone had money, it almost meant that someone else had to be poor for this person to be rich. Like it was just one pie in the sky, which had to be shared by everyone. And usually just a select few got the biggest piece of the pie. At least these were the things I saw growing up. And I don't know about you, but from what I hear from my peers and other people I talk to, like these are similar concepts and beliefs that many of us grew up, not everybody, but many. And I look at my kids, they do not have any of those beliefs about money. They really think they can have anything they want. And they literally come and tell me, just go order it. This is how they think money works. And it's interesting, like I've banned certain words in my home, like expensive, and I'll share more with you about why I do that. And we never say anything is expensive. This doesn't mean I buy them everything that they ask for. At the same time, I'm very careful with my words and language because they are really absorbing everything, including the beliefs that we carry. So I'm very careful about what am I wanting them to perceive about wealth and abundance. And if there's something I don't want to buy them, I will usually say something like, this is not something we want to invest in right now. And that's it. That's the end of the conversation. They don't ask why, they don't say anything. But when you say something is expensive, right, it gives the energy out that you can't afford it. Like there's a lack energy to it. And it took me a long time to look at money, to not look at money as a finite resource that I had to work really hard for. And as if I was taking money from someone else, if I had money, and I used to feel guilty for having abundance. Oh, so crazy. But, this is what we've grown up with. This is what we're exposed to. So I'm not saying that I'm crazy. It's just like the beliefs were just crazy that we've passed on from one generation to another. Also, here's my perception. Abundance is often measured by money or wealth by people. And I think about abundance as everything. Like the trees, the lush trees. There's so much abundance everywhere. And if you look, abundance is a feeling on the inside, isn't it? It's just how you feel. It's got nothing to do with what you have on the outside. You can feel abundant with barely anything, but it's that feeling. But for some reason, our entire society has been programmed to think about abundance through one lens, which is money. Like money, money, money. Like that's all that's focused in on. And personally for me, money does not define me. Now, me and our family, pretty much we live very comfortably, and money comes by easily. It's a means to an end. For me, money that I make from my business is for me to put back into my business so I can serve other people. I can serve more and more people. I can impact the world. Like that's my main desire with attracting more wealth. And yeah, and of course, like I want to live comfortably. I want to live well. But money has always shown up, hasn't it? I mean, think back in your life, like anything you want, anything you need, hasn't it shown up at some point or the other? Have you ever been on the streets? If you're listening to this podcast, I'm guaranteeing you are probably wealthy because most of the world's population lives on such small, meager amounts. And I have stopped worrying about money. Sometimes it will creep up. And when it does, I just don't go there anymore. And money, for me, money again is just used for two things. I want to impact the world. And for impacting the world, it requires money. I have a team, and everything requires money. Money is an energy exchange for what I'm putting out and someone else is giving back. For me, money is again just for my business to impact the world. And for other piece is for me to have generational wealth for my kids and their kids. Like those are the two goals I have, and that's it. I don't have very big needs or very big desires about doing other things with the money. This is the main reason why I do what I do. And I know money will always show up, but these are the things I wanted to talk about in here. But here's the piece. I had to work through some serious money issues and money relationships, which I will talk about later. And that brings me to how do we attract more abundance? So let's start with, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. These are very introspective, and I'm going to invite you to just be within yourself as you answer these questions, write them down, just be with the process. Now, let me ask you this first question. What is money? What is money to you? Webster says money is a measure of exchange, a means of payment, a measure of value. That is it. That's money. It's an exchange. It's an energy exchange, in my opinion. I give you something, you give me something back in return, whether it's a material thing or whether it's a service. You're giving something back. It's all about creating expansion, isn't it? I mean, look at it. All the people who have massive wealth are creating expansion in the universe, in the world. Whether it's Bill Gates, Richard Branson, and any of my guest speakers that you will hear, they're creating expansion. They're serving and they're getting something back in return. They are giving something to the world and they're getting something back in return. And in essence, that is what money is, isn't it? But look at all the meanings we have attached. Look at all the stories we have attached. So many interpretations about what it means to have money, what it means not to have money, and what does money do, and how to worry about money, and all those things. Like, how many stories are associated with money? There's so many, aren't they? I'm going to read a paragraph or a quote from Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind. And Ernest Holmes says, prosperity is the outpicturing of substance in our affairs. Everything in the universe is for us. Nothing is against us. Life is ever giving of itself. We must receive, utilize, and extend the gift. Success and prosperity are spiritual attributes belonging to all people, but not necessarily used by all people. This is by Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind. He's brilliant. If you have not read Science of Mind, I invite you to do that. And in the show notes, I'm going to give you all the resources that I'm using in here for you to also come to a different level in your prosperity consciousness. So let me read that again to you. Prosperity is the outpicturing of substance in our affairs. Everything in the universe is for us. Nothing is against us. Life is ever giving of itself. We must receive, utilize, and extend the gift. Success and prosperity are spiritual attributes belonging to all people, but not necessarily used by all people. Ernest Holmes. So the second question I have for you is, what meaning are you giving to having money or not? See, the first question was, what does money mean to you specifically? The second question is, what meaning are you giving to having money, a certain number that you probably have in mind, or not? This is an important question, isn't it? Because there's a meaning you've given to it. The meaning I used to give is that I associated that with something was wrong with me, or like I'm not valued enough, like my programs or whatever I was offering is not valuable. I had all these meanings associated with that. None of them were true. And this was a long time ago, by the way. And the third question I have for you is, this is really important. If you can, again, really stay with this question, it'll reveal a lot to you. How do you feel about money? Do you worry about money? Do you get frustrated when you look at bills? Are you angry towards people who have wealth? This is important to consider. How do you feel about money? And here's why it's important. You may or may not have realized that everything is vibration. And this is how it's hurting you. You may have not realized this, but this is probably what's happening. The emotions that you're feeling, basically your relationship with money, may be repelling money. I'm not talking about day-to-day living. I'm talking about abundant wealth, abundance. And why is that happening? So everything is vibration, right? Like your energy, your emotions have vibration to them. I'm going to read a quote from Kybalion, which is a book that is amazing. It's based on Hermetic principles. And it was written by Hermes Trismegistus. Oh my God, like I'm butchering his name. Just go look it up, Kybalion. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Why is that? And that also applies to emotions, that also applies to feelings, that also applies to thoughts. And you may have already realized that when you're in a state of anger and frustration and fear and worry, especially about money, you've already put yourself in the victim place. That somehow this is happening to you. You have no control over it. You can't change your life. You can't change your circumstances. You're living and operating from your circumstances of what you see right now in front of you. And there's more to it. And I haven't forgotten the title of this episode, which is How Do You Attract More Money by Doing This One Thing? And I'm going to be talking about that. I'm just building up the stage so you have a sense of this. So that's an important question to have. What is your relationship with money? And the fourth question I have for you is, where do you feel money comes from? You might tell me your job, your business, this investment, this, right? Like you might tell me that's where money comes from. I want you to think again. Okay? Where do you think money comes from? And here's why I'm going to ask you to think again, because has there ever been a time where money has just shown up? Somebody gifts you money, somebody gifts you things, and or a settlement happens that you didn't even know existed. You know, I've gotten some checks like that saying, oh, there was a settlement involved with like this thing and that thing, and here's some money. Money does not come from work. It comes from the universe. Money does not come from work. It comes from the universe. You may or may not even hear this right now. Or even if you hear it, either you may be like, yes, I get it, but just get it, like, just understand it, not fully know it. Or you might be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And your brain will just skim through it. It won't even register what I'm saying. And it may be outside your consciousness to comprehend that. And I'm going to be creating a whole episode on that piece about money does not come from work. But for now, here's where I want you to go. Here's where I'm inviting you to sit with. Money comes from the state of prosperity consciousness, how you feel on the inside. What is your prosperity consciousness, your prosperity thermometer on the inside? To explain that, I'm actually going to read from my favorite book, money book, called Abundance. And again, I'm going to attach all the information in the show notes. Your outer world of form and experience is a reflection of your inner world of thoughts and feelings. As above, so below, as within, so without. And that's the law. This is from the book Abundance. Your outer world of form and experience is a reflection of your inner world of thoughts and feelings. As above, so below, as within, so without. And that's the law. You can apply this to everything in your life. If you haven't listened to my previous episode, the impromptu episode on parenting, I talk about this. Your internal world is reflecting your external world is reflecting your internal world. And that's the same when it comes to money and abundance. That's exactly what happens. And which then brings me to the one shift that will attract massive amounts of wealth, which is, you ready for it? Self-worth. How do you feel about yourself? Your self-worth has a direct correlation with the amount of money you have in your life, in your bank account. So let me explain. Say you look at your bank account, you have a bill to pay, and you don't like what you see in your bank account. You don't feel like you have enough. And when that feeling comes up, you go into a place of fear, worry, anxiety, or like anger, like, why is this not changing? Again, what does that do? What does that do in terms of the vibration that it puts out to the universe? It lowers the vibration, right? And think about a tuning fork. I used to use this analogy a lot when I used to work with couples, because when you have one person vibrating at think about a tuning fork, okay? You have a tuning fork vibrating at a particular frequency. You bring another tuning fork close to it. The other tuning fork is going to start vibrating at the same frequency. And that's what exactly happens. So when I used to work with couples, this is a little bit of digression, but it's very relevant to this as well. When I used to work with couples and they would have fights or they would get into disagreements and they didn't want to do that, I would tell them, it just takes one person to get off the argument train. Just one person get off the argument train. And think of yourself as a tuning fork. When you get off the argument train and you stop vibrating at that angry frequency, then your partner eventually will come back down to where you are vibrating from. And the same goes with worry and fear. Like when you are vibrating at that frequency, it just brings those things back to you, doesn't it? So if you're worried about money, guess what happens? We create the things that we put our attention on. So if your attention is on not having enough money, on lack, then that's what's going to keep getting created. And this is where self-worth comes in. Why is self-worth a thing here? Because how you feel about yourself is what you are vibrating in. If you are constantly in a state of like either not feeling good about yourself or thinking you're not good enough, or you think that you could be doing more, or you don't like yourself, or there's this constant critical factor on the inside, that's the energy you're putting out. How is that going to attract more abundance into your life? And here's the thing I bet you have never thought about. If you're having a hard time investing in something for yourself, like a program, a coach, a vacation, a car, a purse, a pair of clothing, and you're like, you know what, this is expensive. There's the word expensive again. Then this is the piece you may have not considered at all. It's not a matter of money. It's a matter of self-worth. When potential clients say to me like, oh, your program is so expensive or whatever, I just ask them one question often. If you were to spend on your child, would you think twice? Most of them say, nope, I would just do it in a second. I won't even think about it. Then I ask them, then what is making you hesitate to spend on you? What is making you treat yourself as a second-class citizen? And that brings me back to self-worth. When you find yourself not wanting to spend money on you, it's not a matter of money, it's a matter of self-worth. If you valued yourself, you would invest in yourself, wouldn't you? Whatever that may be. It may be a car that you've wanted for 15 years. And what is causing you to deny yourself that pleasure? And I tell you why. I tell you what most people would tell me. Oh, I don't have that money sitting in my bank account. I want that car, but the car is so expensive. I can't afford it. This is what people tell me. And when they say that, I ask them one question. What is making you operate from circumstances? You're looking at it. And I used to do that. Guys, I used to do this. It would drive my husband crazy because he thinks very differently. He's always thought very differently about wealth, and I wish I could interview him on this podcast. He's such a numbers guy. He loves numbers. He geeks out on numbers. And those things don't interest me. For me, I'm like, here, take the money, do whatever you want to do with it. This is how I know where things are. I'm joking, but this is how we've always operated because he loves numbers and there's like a reverence and respect for it. At the same time, there's like, okay, let's if you want to get something that makes us feel good, why stop? So if you wanted a car for 15 years and you've stopped yourself because you're like, oh, I don't have enough, then will you ever have enough? When will you have enough to give yourself that pleasure? Now, I'm not saying go and be, what's the word I'm looking for? Go and be impulsive and do something. But I'm inviting you to just think about it. Like just take a step back and say, am I operating from circumstances? What is it that I would like here? Okay, just imagine this, okay? So say you wanted that car and you got the car, you bought that car and you feel super good. Like, just imagine that. You would feel, how would you feel? You might feel joyful and happy and exhilarated and like just in a high state of being because you're like, wow, I bought this car for myself. Now going back to vibrations, what is that going to do for you on the outside? When you feel really good, most of the time it's going to attract good things back to you. When we keep ourselves in a high state of well-being, it's only going to attract more abundance. And the other piece is whether you're able to receive it or not, which is for another episode. I'm going to talk about that too, because many people kink off the receiving. And I know this also because I've struggled with that. Where do we resist receiving? If someone buys you coffee, what do? Like, do you just say thank you and say, okay, I'm going to take that? Or do you be like, oh my God, I have to reciprocate. I have to do something back for them. That is where I'm talking about kinking the receiving. But that's for another episode. And this is why this is the main piece. This is the main takeaway. When you can feel good on the inside, abundance is just going to automatically flow on the outside. Money has everything to do with the prosperity consciousness, how you feel, and nothing to do with whether you're working hard, whether you're working a lot. Not from hard work. It does not come from hard work. It will not come from hard work, because if it did come from hard work, then all the, and I was growing up in India, all these laborers like this, they would not have anything and they would work so hard. They would work many, many hours. They would all be very rich, won't they? So here's what I'm going to invite you to do. How do we shift? How do we work on self-worth? That's a big question. How do you increase your self-worth on the inside? So let me ask you this again. Write these things down, because this is how you will make the shift. These tiny, tiny things that you can shift on the inside is how you're going to make big shifts on the outside. How does it feel when you feel good about yourself? How does it feel when you feel good about yourself? How does it feel when you are super critical of yourself? And how much more proof do you need to know that you're good enough? Right? How much more proof do you need? Because most people, when they say, "Oh, I don't have this," or I don't have this qualification, or how am I going to prove myself, or how am I going to show that I am good enough? How much more proof do you need? Okay, do this with me, okay? This is going to be very helpful. Do this with me. And if you're driving, pause this when you get to a quieter place, and not when you're driving, you can't do this. Not that you can't, it's because I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. You won't be able to do it if you're driving. You can see, right? Sometimes I get very direct. Like, just do this. I have to work on that piece. All right. And you know why that happens? This is such a complete digression. If you find yourself doing that, that just says that you are internally referenced. What that means is you are more internally driven than externally driven. And that's one of the characteristics of people who are internally driven. All right, do this. Take a deep breath. drop inside, a deep, long breath, and close your eyes as you're breathing in. And slowly breathe out. And as you drop into your body, you will find a spot or some place in your body where it feels super calm. It's just this level of calmness. Almost feels still inside. I'm going to invite you to focus on that. Just bring all your attention to that. And many people say they feel it in their heart or in their belly. Just bringing your attention to that. And letting that calm energy just move to every part of your body, just spreads everywhere. And you're just noticing it and becoming aware of it. And now, with a smile on your face, open your eyes. Beautiful, isn't it? If you're critical of yourself, this would be a good thing to do when you're finding yourself beating yourself up. And that will make a huge difference. And anytime you want to feel good about yourself, this is what might be helpful for you, which is dropping inside, finding that space of calm, finding that space of stillness, and letting that energy just flow every piece of your body. And that stops the mental chatter because you're focusing on something calm. All right. So this is it for this episode. We're going to continue this conversation the next few episodes. And I want to leave you with this beautiful, beautiful prayer from this book called It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver. She's written another book called Change Me Prayers, which again, I love. And this book was so beautiful. And I wanted to read a prayer from her. It just kind of just symbolizes everything that we talked about in today's episode. All the references in the show notes. So this prayer is from it's from this book called It's Not Your Money. Divine Beloved, allow me to give. You know what? Before we start, if you are in a quiet place, I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes and just listen to my words and just let it sink in to your heart. And just let your every ounce in your body and your consciousness just absorb this beautiful prayer. Divine Beloved, allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all my own needs are always met in amazing ways, and that it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. And equally, let me feel widely open to receiving. May I know my own value, beauty, and worthiness without question. Let me allow others the supreme pleasure of giving to me. May I feel worthy to receive in every possible way. Change me into one who can fully love, forgive, and accept myself, so I may carry your light without restriction. Let everything that needs to go, go. Let everything that needs to come, come. I'm utterly your own. You are me. I am you. We are one. All is well. That's it. Isn't this the most beautiful prayer ever? So let that soak in. Just take that in. And with that, I conclude this week's episode. And if you have questions, I invite you to write to support@padmaali.com. And I would love to hear what breakthroughs and what takeaways you're taking from this episode. And tag me on Instagram. That's where I usually live. Or feel free to send me an email. I'm so grateful for you. So thankful that I get to share all this expansion with you guys. And thank you for being open and available for change. Change is hard sometimes. So much love to you all. I will connect with you in the next episode.